In 1760, Pierre Lorillard established a company in New York City to produce tobacco, cigars, and snuff, and it is to this day the oldest tobacco company in the United States. Cigars were popular around this time, cigarettes became popular with soldiers around the 1840s, and chewing tobacco became popular with cowboys in the West. Cigarettes became a major tobacco product in the 1900s. In 1902, Philip Morris marketed the Marlboro brand, and in 1913, R.J. Reynolds marketed the Camel brand. Cigarette sales were at an all-time high during World War II. In the mid-1800s, scientists discovered and concluded that nicotine was a dangerous poison. In the 1950s, evidence was found that smoking tobacco leads to lung cancer, but the tobacco industries continued to deny these health hazards.
Nicotine is one of many chemicals found in tobacco. Nicotine is a highly addictive drug that is the main reason why people become addicted to tobacco in the first place. Nicotine enters the body and goes into the bloodstream, which then quickly goes into the brain. The brain gets an instant feeling of rush of adrenaline and dopamine. Once the nicotine enters the brain, a neurotransmitter called dopamine is released into the brain. This gives the person an instant feeling of happiness and pleasure. The overstimulation of the system, which rewards our natural behaviors, produces the euphoric effects sought by people who use drugs and teaches them to repeat the behavior. After a while, tobacco users develop long-term brain changes. These changes affect the body's ability to produce dopamine on its own, since there has been a constant delivery of dopamine through the nicotine. The associated feelings of reward from the nicotine leaves the body very quickly. This causes the user to continue using to maintain the drug's pleasurable effects and prevent withdrawal. Withdrawal symptoms from nicotine can begin within a few hours after the last cigarette, which increases the person's likelihood to use nicotine again. Symptoms of withdrawal include irritability, craving, depression, anxiety, cognitive and attention deficits, sleep disturbances, and increased appetite. Behavioral factors. Cigarette smoking kills an estimated 440,000 people in the United States every year. Cigarette smoking harms nearly every organ in the body. It has been linked to cataracts and pneumonia, as well as many different cancers.
The Senate Amendment was one of the first tobacco access laws enacted to reduce the availability of tobacco to underage individuals. It requires states to enact and enforce laws prohibiting the sale and distribution of tobacco to underage persons. In 1996, the Food and Drug Administration issued regulations on advertising and marketing of tobacco products to reduce the appeal of tobacco to underage people. Later on, Family Smoking Prevention and Tobacco Control Act was introduced by former President Barack Obama. This granted the FDA the authority to regulate the manufacture, marketing, and sale of tobacco products to protect the public's health.
In 2012, there was a national survey conducted on youth. The survey was called National Youth and Tobacco Survey. This survey found that 40% of kids received cigarettes from someone who offered it to them. 32% asked for one. 30% someone bought the cigarettes for them. 28% the kids bought them themselves. 8% bought from a person, and 10% took from a store or person. For our project, we decided to do interviews. Okay, and what types of settings do you smoke in when you do smoke?
Usually if I were smoking a cigarette, it would be if I was drinking.
How old were you when you smoked tobacco for the first time?
I was 16.
Did you or do you know of anyone who smoked tobacco when they were underage?
Yes, I smoked tobacco underage, and I know a couple of people at school that have.